Greetings in the name of Jah Rastafari. Yes, I am alive. I and I come this evening. Welcome to the show. It is Live with Penny Martins, people. I love to bring this show to you guys. It's not a show, it's just me ranting and talking about my thoughts and things. So today, I want to talk about maximizing your talent. Now, yes, I know it sounds cliche. I know it sounds cliche. Yeah. So, but there's something about what I'm about to share this evening, and I'm going to just pretty much share about myself. Take a cue from what has happened in my life to share with you. Now, trust me, I'm like you. I read a lot of Miles Monroe's books. A lot of John Mason, a lot of what's them again? All the motivational books. I read all of them, and funny enough, I read them in secondary school. So, I already had that mindset of discover your talent, maximize your talent. Be your own boss. I already had that mindset, and sometimes I feel that it's part of what is affecting me now, because I've not been had a job like from my university days. I went to Polytechnic, right? My first degree was a Polytechnic. So from my Polytechnic days, I came out and I started doing business. I was already having a vision and running with the vision. So, and sometimes I feel that I missed out on, working for someone. I mean, I did a couple of work. I worked for a couple of organizations, but I didn't last long in those type of employments. I didn't actually. I think the longest I lasted in any employment was 4 months. The last place I worked, before I went into cosmetainment full time, I think it was a real estate company, right? Perfection Real Estate. I think it was Perfection Real Estate. I can't remember. Right, but I worked. I worked. Don't mind me. I worked. In fact, I'm one of the first. I'm one of the first persons in Nigeria that did remote work, because those days I was managing a website community for a client in the US, and they were paying me monthly. Right? I mean, $100. Those days was big money, but they were paying me $100 those days to manage their website. Back in the day. So I mean, remote work had started way before it became a thing, Remote work had started before it became a thing. But, I mean, I'm talking about maximizing your talents today. And I just pretty much want to share my perspective. What I share mostly is my perspective. And, guys, as usual, I'm walking down the street. I'm walking around City Walk, one of the most beautiful sceneries you can get in the United Arab Emirates. It's lovely. I wish I could do like a 4D video, show you guys, 4K video, show you guys how beautiful this place is. But I'm talking about maximizing your talent, right? Now, every time we talk about talent, people have in mind music or football or dancing. Your mind just go to all those talent hunts and who wants to be no, it's not who wants to be a millionaire. Peak Talent, Project Fame, and the rest of them, right? And Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, so and of course, the funny thing is when you watch those movies, when you watch those shows, you see all sorts of things that are graded and qualified as talents, and it's beautiful. But the question is, how do you maximize all of that talent. Now, I'm going to break it down or come back home to some of the things that were prevalent in the days that I was growing up compared to what is happening now, right? So, I defined talent. Actually, I wrote a book called Discover Your Talent and Grow It into a Successful Business. I actually wrote a book about that a long time ago. In the days that I was a motivational speaker in my mind, I was a motivational speaker and coach in my mind, right? But I actually wrote a book that I titled Discover Your Talent and Grow It into a Successful Business. And I learned the hard way that you need a name to sell a book. You need a name. So my book didn't really do a lot in the market, but it's okay. I'll probably get back to it now that I've known better and I am more experienced. Now, talent is a capacity, ability, an innate ability to do something extraordinary, something special. Some people say that talent is that thing that you need little effort to excel at, right? And the truth is, most of these definitions are arguable. They are up for heated debate, because even me, I'm going to debate it. The definition we have been given over time is that the talent is that thing you have capacity to do or have the ability to do with little or no effort. Something you were born with. So when we're talking about talent, you hear things like a singing talent. Someone can sing. They really didn't learn it anywhere. They just open their mouth and their voice is beautiful, right? You have dancing talent. You have athletics. Someone that has the gift to just be amazingly swift and agile when it comes to sports. That's a talent. There are all sorts of things that are graded as talent. The artistic capacity to be able to paint, to draw, those are talents. So a lot of things qualify as talent. And the truth is that talents come in a vague form. Practice sharpens it. And that is the truth. And that is something that people need to know. Talent always comes like a rough diamond, like raw diamond, like unprocessed, unrefined gold that was just dug out of the ground. It has an innate capacity. There is a potential. Yes, the word actually is potential. Potential. There is a potential. There is a resemblance of something that can happen or that can come out of this person's personality or capacity. But we have to refine. It has to be refined. It has to be pruned. It has to be washed, cleaned. It has to be packaged for it to now serve the purpose of becoming a means of livelihood for the person in question. So don't forget our topic. We're talking about maximizing your talent. For you to even maximize your talent, you have to discover it. Right? I will not dwell a lot on discovering of talent today, because I will deal with it on another podcast. But today I'll basically focus on maximizing, because a lot of people actually know their talent. A lot of people know what they can do. If you can sing, you can sing. If you can rap or you're good with poetry and words, you are a speaker, you can, right? So some people don't, but a lot of people actually know. Even though a lot of people are confused, because you are made to believe that your talent should be able to put money in your pocket. So when it's not putting money in your pocket, you're kind of like confused. Am I really sure that I am in the right business? Like me, I was born into music, meaning that I was born into a family that was actively into music. My dad was a choir master. So I was hearing music in my house from the days that I was still a toddler. When I started hearing various genres of music, including musical instruments. I still remember clearly that my dad would be rehearsing with his band and I will be there in Zaria. Yes, I had a dad that was actively involved in music. But guess what? As I grew up, I knew that my life had revolved around music for too long, and that was the identity I had about myself. I had been around music for so long that was the identity I had of myself, right? And it wasn't long before my dad began to introduce me into music. So he began to introduce me into music, playing an instrument. Before you knew it, I was playing with a band. I became very good in the piano. I was playing, even though I never owned one piano in my life. It still amazes me how I ever got to begin to play the piano, because I never owned one. But all I did was, everywhere I found a piano, I would put my hand and play something that I've heard somewhere. And that was how I started playing the piano. Keyboards, that's what we called it in those days, actively. I know there's keyboard and there's piano. So we called it keyboards, right? Then there is the piano. So I played actively, played with different bands, right? So I knew that my gifting and my calling is within this music thing, but I didn't know exactly where. So after playing for a while, I felt that, singing is actually the people that actually get the glory in this music thing, and it was true. A lot of people do not talk about the musicians, but everybody talks about the singer. So I said, you know what, I should, try my hands in singing. So in one of this story is going to be long, so just get ready for it. In one of the programs we had in school, we went to a joint campus fellowship program, and I think it was in somewhere in Enugu. I think it was either ESUT or one of the schools, right? I was in NIFES, NIFES Bread and Praise the Lord. I was in NIFES, and I was the general secretary of my fellowship, even though I was part of the choir. So I went in that day. I was able to convince the music director at that inter-school fellowship, and they gave me the mic to lead one of the worship and praise session, and I did it beautifully. By the time I was done, everywhere was on fire. People were healed, So for me, that was it. I was like, yes, finally. And that was my first time of leading that amount of crowd. But guess what? By the time I came out of school and then, came to Lagos and then recorded my first song called The True Test in those days. I don't know about now. I think it's still the same thing. The true test of your musical prowess is when you begin to record. You can pass away with some things when you do live performance, but when you begin to record, it's a different ball game entirely. So I recorded, and then I shared that record. First of all, is that the guys that did the recording, they weren't really helpful and nice to me. They really they made fun of me because I hadn't perfected that studio singing capacity, because studio singing is different from stage singing. So I hadn't perfected that studio singing thing, and it was as if this one now won't come follow join saying they sing. I knew the music because I had been doing music. I could instruct, direct the music the way I wanted it to go. But my singing, I didn't have that smooth voice, So there was this ring in my voice, right? And in those days, it was those days where there was a lot of bickering and a lot of, even till now, there's still a lot of bickering, and the industry is not so supportive, except you are in the circle of your friends who encourage you, or you're in the circle of people who encourage and push you, So, but the long and the short story is that my recordings didn't get a lot of positive reviews. And I know that, if I had known better those days, I would have ignored the naysayers and kept pushing. And the truth is, nothing is stopping me from continuing now, right? But I'm sharing something about maximizing your talent. But in all of that, I began to develop a career with the business side of music. So I started doing PR because I loved music and I was in the middle of it all. I started developing capacity. So I added my writing skills. So all the various residual talent that I had, like writing. I loved writing and I loved reading. I was literal in nature. So I started adding up all of that, and then I went into music journalism, or what we called music blogging those days. And I was writing about music and the kind of music I was doing, which was gospel music. Now, I'm maximizing my talent. I have talent within the music space, but the singing itself is not paying off yet. So I started doing things around it. I was too poor to, set up a studio. In fact, I tried to be a studio rat. It really didn't work. I guess I chose the wrong studio. One of the ways to succeed in Nigeria as a music producer is to become a studio rat. So you attach yourself with an existing studio and just, sleep and wake up in the studio, do all the menial jobs in the studio while the head producer teaches you how to produce music, right? So that's literally how every other person came up and became, whoever they are in the music space as a producer. So I tried. I was at Blue Wave Studios. I tried to be a studio rat. I wasn't successful with that. But the thing is, by then I was already running Gospeltainment, a gospel music blog, and it was successful because it was an opportunity. It was needed. There was nobody that was documenting and journaling gospel music, doing public relations, press releases, promotional agency for music. And it was the heydays of the internet when blogging started becoming a thing. So I got into it, and that was how I actively stopped, participating in music. But what am I saying in earnest? Getting into that started opening my eyes to other parts of the industry. So we're talking about maximizing your talent. Whatever your talent is, there are actually business, and when I talk about maximizing it, I'm talking about monetizing it, creating an industry out of your talent. For you to do that, you'd have to really embed yourself in that craft, in the industry. First of all, notice that there is an industry. Know the industry. Is by knowing the industry that you can now know the different careers in the industry. By knowing the industry, being in the industry, you can now spot the careers. And that is what we've been telling people, that even in this music, because I know a lot of people that listen to me are music people, even in this music business, there are several aspects. You must not be the singer. In fact, the people that make most of the money are the people who are in the music industry, not necessarily the singers. Not necessarily the singers get the fame, but the people that make the money are the music business executives, the distributors, the marketers. Those guys are the people that make the money, because you as a singer need them all the time. because you can't do everything. You need people to come and work with you to get some things done. And they will charge you for the service, either by commission or by direct pay. You'd pay. Maximizing your talent. First of all, discover where your passion is, where your potential is. You don't necessarily need to be the star person. Just plug into the supply chain of that industry and establish yourself there. What we did was to establish ourselves in the gospel music space, and we made money. That's the truth. I mean, we made money, right? But I also knew that there was a time would come when you have to go from being the person taking to creating an ecosystem that would empower other people to be able to make money, and that was what I did. So after I had, been there for a while, I started creating an ecosystem that would help every other person earn. So that was when we created the Bloggers Forum. That was when we started shifting from just doing PR, to doing online radio. From there, we run Yivera, which is a digital distribution service, right? Basically, creating a channel, a funnel for people to make money from their music, right? So that is what we have done, and that is what I'm encouraging you to do. To support, get into the space of your interests. So your talent has to be something you are passionate about, you're interested in, you can effortlessly do. Tell me to analyze music. That's the one thing I can do effortlessly. How we analyze it, right? So effortlessly, you can make that happen. Effortlessly, you can make that happen. Effortlessly, you can make that happen. So that is how you begin to maximize your talent. And I'm saying this thing for the younger people and even the older people. Maybe you've been in an industry, maybe you've been a banker or something for a very long time, and you know that at some point in your life you want to settle to something you are more passionate about. Because the truth is, many times we take up jobs that we're not interested in so that we can just put bread on the table. I know a lot of guys that are like that, who are working as engineers or civil engineers or contractors or cleaners or artists. They are doing stuff, but they know that deep in their heart they love music, want to go into music. The truth is, you might not be the singer, but you can be around the activity and it still gives the same feeling, and that's the truth, right? But yeah, I understand the fact. You want to be the singer, you want to be Kanye West, or you want to be Jay-Z, you want to be Wizkid, you want to be the person with a spotlight. But trust me, if you are around that aura, it rubs off on you. And one way to make yourself relevant and indispensable within the industry is to look for a part of the industry that is not working or is not working properly, or the people who are delivering the service are not doing it effectively, and go there and become a king. Learn, study. These days, knowledge abounds everywhere. Learn, study, acquire knowledge in that space. That was what we did. We acquired knowledge in that space. And boom, we became king in that space. All right, guys, that is maximizing your talent. One, I hope I'll come back to share more. So you have an amazing day ahead of you, and bye-bye.